What if the very checkups you believed would protect your health were quietly putting it at risk? Most people think more screening means more safety. But after the age of 70, the truth gets complicated. There comes a point when certain medical tests just stop being helpful and start becoming harmful. This isn't fear-mongering. It's a deeper understanding born from experience. From the stories of countless seniors who walked into a doctor's office hoping for peace of mind and walked out carrying unnecessary burdens. This video is for those who value their time, their energy, and their independence. It's for those ready to approach health with clarity, not fear. Because real elderly wisdom isn't about saying yes to everything. It's about knowing when to say no. Let's begin with one of the most misunderstood tests in senior healthcare, the colonoscopy. For decades, colonoscopy has been considered a gold standard for catching colon cancer early. But what many seniors don't realize is that after 70, especially in those without symptoms or family history, the balance of risk and benefit begins to shift dramatically. The procedure isn't gentle. It requires powerful laxatives to empty your bowels, a process that can leave older adults dangerously dehydrated. Then comes the sedation drugs that take longer to clear from aging bodies, leaving you groggy, confused, and vulnerable to falls. And the most concerning part? Many small polyps found during colonoscopies in people over 70 would likely never cause harm. They grow slowly, often taking 10 to 15 years to become serious if they ever do. But the moment something is found, a domino of anxiety, biopsies, and even bowel surgeries can begin. And that, for many seniors, becomes the real health threat. Take Robert, a sharp 82-year-old who enjoyed gardening and daily walks. He had no symptoms, but his doctor encouraged a just-in-case colonoscopy. During prep, Robert became so dehydrated he fainted. After the test, still under the fog of sedation, he fell in his kitchen and fractured his hip. He spent months in rehab. The result of his test? No cancer, no urgent findings, just unnecessary suffering. This isn't an attack on doctors. Many are simply following guidelines that haven't caught up with the realities of aging. But the movement is growing. More physicians are now encouraging seniors to weigh the risks, to ask hard questions, and to consider non-invasive alternatives like stool-based tests effective, simple, and far less risky. The elderly wellness tips that matter most aren't about doing more. They're about doing smarter. Declining a colonoscopy after 70 doesn't mean neglecting your health. It means respecting your body's current needs. It means trusting your judgment and choosing medical care that supports your life, not disrupts it. There's a kind of dignity in choosing less, not out of fear, but out of deep understanding. That's the kind of elderly wisdom we need now, more than ever. Let's keep going. There's something undeniably tempting about a full body scan. The idea that one machine can peer into every inch of you, uncover hidden dangers before they strike sounds like the ultimate safety net. Especially as we grow older, we long for reassurance. We crave certainty. But here's the painful irony. For seniors over 70, these scans can create more chaos than calm, more fear than freedom. What's sold as smart prevention often becomes a never-ending cycle of overdiagnosis, anxiety, and invasive procedures that may never have been needed. Full-body CTS and MR are powerful tools. Too powerful sometimes. They're designed to detect everything, every tiny shadow, every small cyst, every harmless nodule. And for younger people, that might be manageable. But for seniors, these incidental findings can feel like ticking time bombs. A little spot here, a slight blur there, and suddenly the wheels start turning. Biopsies, surgeries, referrals. And with each step, the risk to your body, your peace of mind, and your bank account grows. Let me share a story. Betty, a vibrant 78-year-old with no symptoms and an active life was offered a discounted full-body scan at a community health fair. It sounded like a good idea, but the scan found a minuscule lesion on her kidney one that had never caused her a single problem. Still, the word lesion shook her. Within weeks, she was in surgery. The result? Months of fatigue, complications she never quite bounced back from, and a spirit that dimmed just a little. The growth? Benign. The surgery? Probably unnecessary. This is what we call overscreening risks for seniors, and it happens more often than we'd like to admit. There's also the emotional toll. No one tells you how heavy it is to wait for test results, how stressful it is to sit through multiple follow-ups, or how devastating it can be to live in constant fear of what if. Even when your body feels fine, insurance rarely covers these scans unless there's a specific reason. Many seniors pay out of pocket, believing they're buying peace of mind. But what they often get is an expensive ticket into a medical system that doesn't know when to stop looking. This is where elderly wisdom matters. It teaches us to pause, to ask, is this test for my benefit or for the sake of doing something? Does it truly support my health, or is it feeding a fear I've already outgrown? For women over 70, this is especially important. So many procedures are geared toward younger bodies, younger lives, longer time horizons. But senior women's health isn't about chasing every shadow on a screen. It's about protecting the energy you have, the clarity you hold, and the quality of the years still ahead. We're not saying don't investigate real symptoms. We're saying trust your body more. Trust your experience. If you feel well, move well, and sleep well, maybe that means you actually are well. Because in this chapter of life, health isn't defined by how many scans you've had. It's defined by how free you feel to live without fear. That is the kind of healthcare seniors deserve. That is the voice of elderly wisdom. There's a certain weight to the word heart. It's not just a muscle, it's the rhythm of our lives, the core of how we measure vitality. So when the idea of a cardiac stress test is offered, especially to a man in his 70s, it sounds like a wise move. After all, isn't protecting your heart essential to a long, meaningful life? But here's the hard truth. For many seniors, especially healthy aging men without any symptoms, routine stress, tests can become a doorway to unnecessary danger. Cardiac stress tests, whether treadmill-based or chemical, are meant to see how your heart handles pressure. But aging bodies don't play by the same rules. Arteries stiffen, electrical patterns shift, recovery takes longer. These are normal signs of aging, not signs of disease. Yet, the test doesn't know the difference. And so, it flags abnormalities that often aren't real problems. What happens next is a cascade. You're sent to a cardiologist. They order an angiogram. Maybe they find a little plaque, the kind many seniors have without issue. But because it's there, a stent is placed, or worse, a bypass is scheduled. Suddenly, you've moved from being perfectly fine to lying in a hospital bed, wondering how it all spiraled out of control. That's exactly what happened to Martin, a 74-year-old retired firefighter. No chest pain, no fatigue, just a routine checkup and a doctor playing it safe. The stress test came back borderline, and within a few weeks, Martin was undergoing a procedure. During recovery, he suffered complications from blood thinners and spent the next 6 months in and out of care facilities. His independence? Shaken. His joy? Dimmed. And for what? This isn't rare. It's becoming so common that many respect it. Geriatric and cardiac associations now recommend against routine cardiac stress tests for seniors who have no symptoms. No chest pain. No shortness of breath. No unexplained fatigue. The science just doesn't support the benefit. In fact, The risks often far outweigh the rewards. It's time we rethink what it means to care for the aging heart. For healthy aging men, true protection doesn't come from wires, treadmills, and dye injections. It comes from daily movement, heart-centered nutrition, meaningful relationships, and peace of mind. It comes from managing stress not in a lab, but in life through sleep, stillness, and spiritual balance. Elderly wisdom whispers this. Your heart doesn't need to be constantly tested to be trusted. It needs to be respected. And if it's not calling for help, maybe it's already doing just fine. So the next time someone suggests a test, just to be safe, ask yourself, safe for whom? Safe for the hospital's liability, or safe for your body, your dignity, your joy? Health checkups for seniors should always be about more than just protocol. They should honor your story, your strength, your hard-earned discernment. That is not neglect. That is wisdom. There's something deep in all of us that fears cancer. It's silent. It's sudden. It can feel like it's always waiting in the shadows. That fear is why colonoscopies became such a praised tool for prevention. And for many years, they were. But after a certain age, especially after 70, that same tool can quietly become more of a risk than a protection. You might have already had 1 or even 2 colonoscopies in your lifetime. Maybe the results were clear, but then you turn 75 or 78, and your doctor says, let's do another, just to be sure. That just to be sure can change everything. Here's the truth many seniors are never told. Colonoscopies come with increasing risk the older you get. The sedation used can lead to days, even weeks of confusion, fatigue, or memory fog. That's not just unpleasant. For some, it means missed medications, lost routines, or dangerous falls. The bowel preparation, often described lightly as uncomfortable, is far more serious for older adults. It can severely dehydrate you, disrupt your electrolyte balance, strain your kidneys, and leave you physically drained. If you live alone, the risk of falling during the night or slipping in the bathroom becomes very real. But the biggest concern? The benefit timeline. Colonoscopy is designed to detect polyps that take 10 to 15 years to become cancerous, if they ever do. So ask yourself, if you're 75 or 80 and you've already had clean results before, is it worth going through the entire procedure again, knowing the chance of finding something dangerous is very low, and the chance of complications is getting higher? Elderly wisdom tells us that just because we can do something doesn't mean we should. Take the story of Eileen, a 78-year-old retired schoolteacher. She had a normal colonoscopy at 68, then another at 73, both clean. But during a checkup, her doctor suggested another, simply out of habit. She agreed. During the procedure, her colon was accidentally perforated. She needed emergency surgery, spent a month in the hospital, and never fully recovered her energy. All for a test that found nothing. Overscreening risks for seniors aren't theoretical. They're lived experiences. They're the quiet regrets that follow a decision made without full understanding of the trade-offs. And those trade-offs matter more as we age, not less. Senior healthcare advice must evolve. It must recognize that longevity isn't just about adding years. It's about protecting the quality of the years we already have. Clarity of mind, freedom of movement. Peace of heart. It's not cowardice to decline a test. It's courage. It's saying, I've done my part. I've taken care of myself. And now, I choose to live wisely instead of reactively. So if you're over 70, have no symptoms, and a history of clean screenings, know this. It's okay to say no. That doesn't make you reckless. That makes you informed. That makes you strong. That makes you a voice of elderly wisdom in a world that sometimes forgets the value of quiet discernment. Let the next decision you make about your health come not from fear, but from the wisdom you've earned. As we reach our 70s, something shifts, not just in the body, but in the soul. We begin to understand that health isn't measured by how many tests we take or how many appointments we keep. It's measured by how free we feel to live, to laugh, to love without the constant shadow of medical worry. And yet, in a healthcare system designed for early detection, we're often pressured into believing that doing more is always the safer bet. More screenings, more scans, more procedures. But for seniors, both women and men, this can lead us down a path that steals more than it saves. Harold, a 76-year-old grandfather from Illinois, lived that path. He had no symptoms, no fatigue, no chest pain. But during his annual physical, his doctor recommended a stress test, just in case. It came back slightly abnormal, and one thing led to another. An angiogram, a stent, then a complication. Harold ended up in the hospital with internal bleeding, spending 3 months recovering from something that might never have been an issue. This is not uncommon. And it's not because doctors are careless. It's because the system is built to act first and think later. But you, at this stage of life, have a different right. The right to ask whether a test will change the outcome or just change the paperwork. The right to protect your time, your strength, your clarity. Elderly wisdom means knowing that health isn't only about finding every potential issue. It's about preserving the life you've built and the energy you still hold dotted. Also means honoring the difference between prevention and interference, between staying alert and staying anxious, between caring for your body and giving it over to endless procedures. For senior women, especially those living independently, this becomes even more personal. You've spent a lifetime caring for others. Now, your wellness should be centered on comfort, confidence, and meaningful moments, not sedatives, surgical risks, or long recoveries from optional tests. And for healthy aging men, the trap is similar. The idea that strength means staying on top of every possible issue. But true strength lies in discernment, in choosing rest over rush, trust over fear, simplicity over noise. So what should you focus on after 70? Listen closely to your body. Prioritize movement, nutrition, sleep, and social connection. Ask questions. Seek second opinions. And remember, declining a screening isn't the same as neglecting your health. It's choosing a path of conscious care, one that reflects your values, your limits, and your freedom. Let that be your new definition of wellness. Not more tests, but more truth. Not more fear, but more peace. Not more doing, but more being. You've earned that. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to do something simple, yet powerful. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the bell to receive future content designed to inform and uplift your journey. Share this with someone you love, someone who may be silently carrying the weight of too many checkups, too many appointments, too many just in case decisions. Remind them that their body deserves to be honored, not over-tested. Their time deserves to be lived, not measured by machines. Because the greatest gift in this chapter of life isn't in chasing every possible illness. It's in creating a life that feels whole, calm, and truly yours. That is elderly wisdom. And that is your power. There comes a point in life when the bravest decision isn't the one that pushes you forward, but the one that holds you still. In your 70s and beyond, this becomes more than just a health decision. It becomes a statement of how you choose to live. The world will tell you that more testing equals better care. But you know better. You've lived long enough to understand that real care doesn't come from reacting to every fear. It comes from responding with wisdom. Elderly wisdom. It's the voice that tells you your worth isn't defined by what a scan sees. Your strength isn't proven by enduring one more invasive test. And your health isn't preserved by walking blindly through a medical system built for younger bodies with different goals. It takes courage to question the system, to look your doctor in the eye and ask, will this test truly change the outcome? Or just give me something else to worry about? It takes strength to say no to fear, especially when it's wrapped in the language of prevention. But that strength is what sets you apart. You're not just a patient. You're a person with values, with goals, with a limited amount of time and energy, and a right to spend both wisely. So instead of chasing every potential threat, chase clarity. Instead of testing for what might never happen, invest in what you can feel now: joy, connection, movement. Rest. Let your healthcare reflect your life, not dictate it. Let your choices reflect what matters, not what's marketed. You have nothing to prove. If you found peace in these words, if they've helped you see your health in a new light, please take a moment to like this video. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future messages designed to guide, support, and uplift. Turn on the notification bell, because each week we bring you more real talk, honest stories, and elder-centered advice grounded in truth, not fear. And most importantly, share this video. Someone out there needs to hear it. Someone out there is quietly unsure, silently overwhelmed, or secretly afraid of saying no. Be the one who shows them it's okay to take a different path. Because living wisely after 70 isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters. That's not neglect. That's elderly wisdom. And that's your legacy. As we grow older, one of the greatest lessons we can embrace is this. Health is not just the absence of disease, it is the presence of peace, purpose, and clarity. In a world that often glorifies more checkups, more treatments, more just-in-case procedures, it takes real courage to say, I trust my body. I trust what I've learned. The message behind this video isn't to ignore your health. It's to honor it more deeply, to stop reacting out of fear and start choosing from a place of understanding. After 70, our priorities shift. We begin to see that not every shadow on a scan needs chasing. Not every irregular heartbeat requires panic. Sometimes, doing less is the wiser path. Let your care be guided not by fear of missing something, but by the love of preserving what you already have. Time, dignity, and joy. Ask your doctors the right questions. Surround yourself with voices that respect your experience. And most of all, trust that elderly wisdom, the quiet, steady knowing you've built over decades, has value. Because the best medicine after 70 may not be another test, but the freedom to live fully, calmly, and